I'm here with two very special people, Tony Amendola and Chris Judge. Thank you so much for joining us. Oh, we got an audience now. This is amazing. Thank you for joining us. This is
Thank you.
Also, shout out to your pants. Can we get an applause for pants, please? Thank you. Thank you.
My wife calls these my Christmas pants because though the wrapping is great, the real gift is underneath.
That's my favorite joke of the entire day.
How's that for an opener?
Yeah, I want it on a poster. But guys, thank you for joining us. I know this year is very special for both of you. Specifically, Stargate had a big panel this morning, which I heard was a good time. How did you guys like it?
It was good.
Yeah?
It was good. It was fun.
Nice.
It's still amazing to, after 21 years, that the fans are still engaged and there's still this amount of excitement around the show, and it was really heartwarming and exciting for us as we kind of embark on whatever's next for Stargate.
Yeah. Who don't want to give anything away? It's secrets. Well, I've heard it's been incredible for how long this franchise has been around. It's been around in so many different iterations. And I know with Stargate Command, the .co, you guys can watch every iteration of this. You got all the shows, you got movies. Yep. Awesome. How is it changed? Because I know it's early on, like fandoms must have been a lot different. Comic-Cons were probably different too. How has it changed for both of you, Tony?
The whole fan world? Well, you know, I mean, it really changed. A big thing had to do was the leap to Sci-Fi Channel. That was huge because it reached so many people. And the other thing is oddly a family thing. You know, is all of a sudden the two shy young people who were at your table who had eyes for each other, now, okay, a couple of years, they're a couple. And then all of a sudden, 5 years later, they're coming... Now they got one child, two children, and it really was sort of a testament to a sort of need that was filled. There was so much sort of dystopian sci-fi genre work that all of a sudden the fact that it can be seen by a family, the fact that it could be talked about between a daughter and a father, a grandmother and a grandson, was huge. And we hear that all the time when they come to our tables. And it's always sort of a special thing to realize in the midst of a lot of pain, you can sort of reach out and touch people in a nice way. So.
I think that's probably the thing that we're all most proud of is the connection between members of families that Stargate afforded. And you know, we came along in a sweet spot, and it's kind of remarkable that, you know, 21 years later, that sweet spot is kind of here again. You know, the events of the world are so dark that I think people once again want their sci-fi to be escapist and fantasy and about exploration and hope and all those great things that sci-fi used to be about, rather than the dystopia. And so it's a very interesting time for us now to embark on whatever's next for Stargate.
I like that tease.
I will say this about fans. I just want to address this to the airline industry. If you are a pilot and you enjoy Stargate, please don't come and tell us about it during the flight. We'd rather have you sort of back there. that actually happens one time.
It's, you know, I love the support, but you just got, please.
I mean, you know, I know it's autopilot. But, you know.
Peace of mind. It's important. No, it's very sweet to hear how you guys talk about it, because and you're right about escapism, because we do love our gritty sci-fi every once in a while. But when it's all that, you're like, hey, the world's already like that. I don't need that all the time. I don't need to turn on the TV and it be the exact same thing. So it is cool. The exploration's the fun part. It engages your imagination, and and that's one of the best parts is you get like fan fiction. You get to see how fans interpret it, different from maybe you or the writers. great that this show can still do that after all these years and still bring in new fans.
Right.
That is so cool to see what it means to different people.
Well, that's one of the great, we have one of the greatest storytelling devices that there is. You can walk through that gate to anywhere, and it's only limited by only by the boundaries of your own imagination. So it's such a great premise to follow through with the exploration and what is out there.
That's amazing from a fan point of view, because I do love those sci-fi shows where they get to explore every facet of sci-fi. Like you get your teleportation, you get your space exploration, you get a time travel, and it's just cool that, hey, you have a plot device that perfectly is able to let you explore every corner of that.
Right, encapsulates all of those.
It's so cool. So what are your plans for this year's Comic-Con? I know you had a panel this morning. What else are you looking forward to this year?
Well, one of the things that I'm looking forward to seeing Momoa while we're down here. He's part of the family, and to see his, the success of Momoa, I really think should be heartening to everyone, because it's someone who is that hard to look at, and someone grotesque physical appearance that he somehow made it should be an inspiration to
definitely.
everyone.
Anyone can do it.
After Momoa, anybody.
I want to see if he brought his trident, because there was some late night talk show. He did the whole trident thing.
Yeah.
I forget which one it was.
I saw he learned how to actually throw it. Like that's like
Did he actually though?
I saw him throw an axe on Instagram. It's close. But how about for you?
Again, more of the same. And the other things, I've been doing that because of the fan base at Stargate. I've traveled, as Chris as we all have, all over the world, to various cons. So I'm trying to touch base with those people. There are some people who have booths that, I'd like to go to. There's a
Who have booths?
Who
have what?
Booths.
Oh, booths. Booths.
What a difference an inch makes. There's some from New Zealand, etc. And it's just a wonderful, there were some people from Italy, Germany. So, I'll do a little bit of that. And, I just love watching the people. I just love, who is going to walk by? I think it's terrific. It's been a while since I've been down. Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
No, this is truly one of the great crossroads of humanity. Truly anywhere, and it's just like this morning. I was outside at 6 o'clock in the morning, just watching people, and it's so fascinating, but it's also so heartening that people that are so different are so the same, and so have a common ground and a common place of not only safety but support and mutual interest. And there's nothing here that you can do to make somebody go, wow, what a fucking weirdo.
Yeah.
Everything is welcome here, and everything is supported, and everything is encouraged, and it's a really beautiful thing to see.
My favorite, and because we all possibly have this in our own lives, the one thing that we love more than anything, and when you ask somebody about it, you can see their eyes light up, and it's just endearing to see someone talk about their passion and really get to show you why it matters to them.
Right.
And it's cool that you guys have a fandom that's so positive. And now you guys have talked about specific, you've been traveling all over the world. Do you have an instance that you specifically remember of, like, you know what, that I'm going to hold on to that with that interaction with that fan or that specific convention, that is important to me? It's a tough question. So if you guys, it's tough because you guys have been doing this for 20 years.
The outside world loves to put fandom in a box. And the one thing you learn by doing these cons and spending time in this world is that there are as many different sort of types of individuals as you have anywhere. And it's so wonderful that they have an outlet for their passion. The military, the information technology, Steampunk. You know, well, I wasn't going to go there, but so many different professions.
Yeah, so be
I guess
quiet.
Is what I'm going to say. You know, so, excuse me. Can we get him removed? You know, it's as if it's just, as Chris said, a safe place to sort of show yourself in a kind of way, and I just really, really love that. That said, for instance, I was in Italy one time, did a little con, and it was so great, and it's a small world because the woman whose con it was, she was an antiques restorer, an antiquity restorer. So she had restored the gates of the church in a little town in Italy that my mother grew up in. And so we had sort of contact. And all of a sudden, so I come into a con for her, very small. I just, you know, I was sort of taken with her. And the next thing you know, we're at the Uffizi Gallery, because she's an antiquities restorer. So the scope of the people that are in this world, it never ceases to surprise me. Never, ever ceases. So
It's wonderful.
yeah.
For me, you know, it's weird because what we do for a living, you're kind of in a bubble, and you often are. For me, once I would get offset, I was a dad. That was the most important thing to me. So you kind of lose track of that. People invite you into their homes once a week to spend an hour with their family, and what it means to them, and how personal it is to invite someone into your home. And so I had always you know, you're taught as an actor, hey, you got to keep fans at an arm's length. You can't get too close to fans. You don't know what's going to go on, blah, blah, blah. Well, what changed it for me was the first complete episode I wrote, The Changeling. I met this lovely man and his wife. There's a spider. Ooh. Keith and Sue Wooden, God bless Keith, he just passed away not too long ago. But he had a kidney condition that he was reluctant to get operated on, and after watching The Changeling, convinced him to have the operation. So all he had wanted to do was like thank me, and I was kind of I didn't know how to take that. I didn't know how to process it. And upon meeting this beautiful man and his wife, it's like there doesn't need to be a separation. There doesn't need to be a them and us. We're all just us. And we all have different things that we battle, different struggles that we're going through. And oftentimes no one else knows about it. And it really changed my perception of interaction with fans. And now I love it. I encourage, I enjoy saying thank you to the people who have allowed this to continue for over 20 years. You know, I always found that to be a weird kind of disconnect, that you ask people to support what you do, but then you're afraid of the people that you ask to go buy your shit. It's always been a weird disconnect to me, and the fact that for at least I can say almost all of our cast and there isn't that, and it does the Stargate family extends beyond the boundaries of set or cast or crew. It truly involves this wonderful fandom that we have.
Every often, though, there is sort of an odd thing. Like I forget. Well, I won't name the city I was in, but I was at a convention, and you know the line's coming through, and a woman came through, and she whispered to me, "I went through the Stargate last night. I'm in room 567 if you want to talk more about it." You see, there's family, and then there's family. But it was great fun.
Bless her heart.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I mean, part of me really wanted to hear.
You're a little curious.
Just a
little curious. Well, speaking of being curious, when did you guys get a hint, like a little tease, about what this was going to turn into? Because I mean, 20 years. Like, that's incredible. Like, that's I can think of only 2 other shows that can even get close to, like, having that kind of status. When do you guys have a specific memory of when you got an idea that this was going to be bigger than a normal TV show?
For me, it was, well, out of the gate. I mean, I knew we had a shot as long as we didn't screw it up. We had a 5-year plan. We had 44 on air guaranteed, and we had fucking MacGyver. That's a pretty good jump off point. So we had an inkling that, you know, because 5 back then, 5 was the magic number. 5 was the syndication number. So we had an inkling, as long as we didn't screw it up, we had a great chance to go 5 years. Because the original plan was to go 5 years and then start doing movies. Once we kept, no one could have foreseen that we would have been on air for 10 years. I mean, no one could have foreseen that. And anyone who says that they did is a liar. But I had an inkling. We had a chance to go the 5 years.
That's awesome.
You know, I have sort of a slightly different story to tell because I actually started appearing more and more the deeper into the seasons we got, you know, because of Chris's writing and because storylines. But I would always go up and you'd always get the temperature of what was going on the set because we're human. Sometimes you have a good year, sometimes you have a bad year or something, you know, personal stuff, whatever. But you always knew sort of what people were at their base. So, you know, it was always interesting for me to see what was going on. But I remember it might have been after the 4th season. And now, of course, are they going to get picked up? Are they, in fact, going to be, will we have enough to go into syndication? There was a little sort of tension. And we were shooting out by the Fraser River. It's the episode, forgive me, I always forget the episodes, where we shared a symbiote.
David?
The Changeling.
Oh, I wrote that.
You're right. That's why I looked. So, and we were waiting for golden hour, which is you know, the perfect light, that golden light that film crews wait hours to get this shot in this light. And all this debate's going on, Chris, and they're talking about this, and I'm just watching the Fraser River. Right? And will we come back? No, we're not coming back. Are we going to come back? I don't know. I think, I hope. And all of a sudden, I'm noticing that the salmon are running. So the salmon are popping. They're popping literally. If you've never seen this, it's quite a beautiful thing. They pop right out of the water. They're going home, you know? And the light is sort of glistening on them and everything. And I say to Chris, Chris, we're coming back. And he's like, you know, Chris being such a gentleman, he's thinking, how the hell do you know? But no, I said, trust me, we're coming back. And I was insisting because I wanted the punchline. We're coming back. And finally, how do you know this? I said, well, look, even the salmon are jumping up to get a look at Stargate. That's my Stargate. You know, are we coming back? And did I know that it was a special show?
I always realize that you always leave out part of the story. As we were waiting for the sweet light. So they didn't want us to go back to our trailers. They didn't want us. Right. They want us to be on our marks. So Tony and I laid in Tony's arms for about an hour, just waiting for the sweet. we were looking up at the sky and talking.
And I said to Chris, yeah. Chris, I went through the Stargate last night. No, that was a special show.
Yeah, it really was.
Yeah.
But it was beautiful. It was beautiful. Like just that whole thing was just it was just so serene and peaceful, and I kind of fell in love with you that day, Tony.
Me too.
Oh, that's a beautiful
as I recall too, they must have been finishing up. We got a ride back, the two of us, and a very generous fan gave you a bottle of scotch or something, and we put a good dent in it because, of course, we were not driving. You know, we were in the back, but.
Yeah, that was one of the odd perks of when we first started. you could say you like something, and the lovely fans would send you it. So people were saying, you know, oh, I like teddy bears, or I like whatever. I said scotch and golf. So for years, I got these wonderful bottles of scotch, and literally thousands of golf balls. Yeah, it was just it's just odd looking back on that being a non-drinker now, because and it's funny to think that the golf balls lasted longer than the scotch did.
You know, it's funny too, because you know, in the UK they get a lot of Scottish fans come, you know, down if the convention is in England, and they'll bring you, you know, little single malt or this or that, and it's all great, and it's so wonderful to hear them and listen to them and hear their passion about the show, and of course their accent. And it's all great, you know, when they're at the table and they give you the thing. So what used to be Sotone, can you tell me about the, right now in the bar at 1 o'clock is, so can you tell me about the, which I going to be saying? And it's like, all of a sudden you have no idea what they're saying. And you think, are we speaking the same language? But it's so great. You just smile and it's, and keep drinking.
Yeah.
Good rule of thumb. Well, you guys shared really good memories with for the show, like one special memory with each other. Do you guys have a special episode, or just another special memory you'd like to share right before we close out the stream that you look back fondly on?
For me, my favorite episode is Threshold, because it's sort of it was our story in a kind of way, and it had some of the, you know, wonderful locations. The snow work in that we did up on Grouse was really, really special. And so that was that particular episode that I really, really enjoyed. And Peter DeLuise screaming, you know, and stuff. Peter's an interesting guy, because the great thing about Peter is that he's a cut-up. But if you actually really need a hand, if you actually truly have a genuine question, an actor question, he's also an actor. So he can help you. Occasionally, he helped me a couple of times in that. And so that one, particularly because it was that story, Threshold is my favorite. So,
I think for me it was kind of the 200th. It was such it was a heavy work week for the prep week for all the departments, because essentially we were doing, you know, 5 or 6 episodes in the same time span that we have to prep one episode, and there were crew members who had worked for 10 years and had never been to set. That week, everybody came to set, and it was a week of just saying how much we appreciated each other, how much we loved each other, and what a great experience it's been. And so that for me will always kind of be the most magical thing. For me, to watch, it was Heroes 1 and 2. People often ask me what my favorite episode was, and I always give that response because I think those were the episodes that we got everything right. There was great battle scenes, the tour de force of acting between Terrell and Saul, thank you, and Saul Rubinek. Oh wow, we've got to play trivia against you. Yeah, and Saul Rubinek. It was. I didn't go to set a lot if I wasn't on camera. I went and watched this master class of acting, how they played back and forth. We had Adam Baldwin on, we have completely different political views, but we became friends, and it was a great lesson for me in listening, and we still to this day play golf together from meeting on that episode. It was just a really remarkable piece of filmmaking that oft is not because of time constraints, because of whatever, is not allowed to happen in television. And I just really am still enamored by the product that came from that.
Well, I really appreciate this talk. We're live with a couple thousand people right now. Do you have any final words for them before we say goodbye? Oh, after you, go ahead. Yeah,
for
right
this
up there.
rabble. What can I say? Thanks and thanks and evermore. Thanks.
Yeah. It's been a fantastic first part of this ride. And please, for whatever comes next for Stargate,
stay tuned.
we hope you'll be with us for this this next leg of the trip.
Very cool. Thank you both so much for joining us here on Gamma Ray. Thank you so much for watching live. Thank you for everyone who joined us. Now, oh, that's cool. The crew here at Skybound has been amazing, and we have more awesome content coming to you guys later, like tomorrow, Saturday, a little bit more. Make sure you tune in back tomorrow morning, and make sure you follow Gamma Ray on all the appropriate networks so you know when we're going live. You're not going to want to miss it. We have many cool guests joining us to play games, to chat. You guys know the deal. I'll see you guys then. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Oh, bye-bye. Bye-bye.